Welcome back to Stay Tuned. I'm Tony Angelo, and today we're going to cram that dirt cheap carbureted LS1 into my also dirt cheap C5 Corvette. Let's go. Get out your New Balances and your mullets and your satin jackets. It's time. It's Corvette time. I might look a little wooden and rigid this week. I have a pinched nerve in my neck. So I'm not able to do a lot of heavy lifting, but luckily we've got Stone and Barb here. They're going to pick up some slack on that stuff. I've got some muscle actors. They're going to take me to Funky Town, and we're going to be all good to go. So we are building a Corvette one way or another. Or we're going to lose. Or we're going to lose the shop! Or, I don't know, not get a video out or something. Either way, we're not doing it. All right. Before I even jump in on this thing, I can't even stop thinking about it, how much better the shop is. This week's sponsor is Mr. Cool, and the shop is now air conditioned, which has been the best. It's been jamming for about a week. We hit those guys up. It's been a brutal, brutal summer. They got on board. They're supporting Stay Tuned. They're keeping us from just about passing out in here. And installation was super simple. It's a DIY mini split system. Installation is super straightforward. I yanked my 74 Laguna grill off the wall and use this big mounting plate and template to hang the air handler and make a big hole to run all the lines through. Looks all set up here. You're about halfway done. Then you got to get the lines outside, another big hole in the building. Run it through. These are the refrigerant lines and the main power and power back to the unit. The refrigerant lines are pre-charged, so when you tighten them up, you'll hear a very satisfying psh, which is awesome. Check them for leaks, make sure they're all good. And then grab the main AC unit, which is also a heat pump. This thing has heat too. Drop it somewhere level. Start making connections. You got the two refrigerant lines and two wiring setups. This is into the unit from the breaker and out back to the AC handler. Hook up the lines, release all the refrigerant that's in the main unit, and you're basically ready to rock. Flip the breaker and this thing will fire right off. And there you go. This thing has changed the game in the shop. It used to be 94 degrees in here, and now we can turn it down to 70 or lower if we wanted. We're rocking about 74 here because that was a great year, and we are feeling fine. So if you're hot and sweaty, like we are, suffering through the summer, grab yourself a Mr. Cool. All right, Corvette stuff. Somehow I still got to look at Stone's pasty legs, even though it's 70 in here.
Sorry. Yep.
All right, so if you don't know about these cars, there's a V8 in the front, clutch and flywheel in the front also in a kind of regular bell housing. Then there's a torque tube with a shaft inside of it that runs to a rear-mounted transaxle. It's a transmission and the differential all in one. It's how the Corvette gets its nice 50-50 weight distribution, but it does make it kind of a pain in the butt to put the motor in and out. You can't just drop it in the front and slam it in. You gotta lower the subframe. It's a whole big deal. If you have a lift, the way they say to do it is to drop the whole drivetrain out, put it all back together, put it back in from the bottom, and that's what we're gonna do. We got it like this. What's that, girl? Timmy's at the lake. He needs help. So, call the police. Call a rescue squad. Let's never grease this up. Let's just do this every time. Yep, still going. It'll get there. Bop. There we go. One of the reasons we're going to pull the whole rear end and torque tube out is that this car has 140,000 miles on it, Barb, 130, and torque tubes have to be rebuilt periodically. This thing had I would assume an iron 5.3 in it with a turbocharger, and has probably seen some serious abuse / sideshow action. So she's coming out. It's definitely been off-road at some point. Quite a bit of grass here.
My bet is it went through a cornfield.
Definitely through a cornfield at a high rate of speed. They backed the subframe into something. The sway bar is bent and not in the right way. But it's all good. It is a relatively affordable Corvette, and that's what we're here for. Good. All right, we've got the torque tube out with transmission and the differential and the whole rear subframe. We're rocking and rolling. We're going to inspect the torque tube to see if it's ever been rebuilt. It's a high mileage car. If it hasn't been done, we have the supplies, but I'd rather not do it. So let's find out. Does look like some kind of interstellar light energy cannon thing. Love it. Do you have any idea what you're doing?
To be honest? No.
Yeah. Fantastic. That makes two of us. That'll be a pry bar situation.
Yep.
All right. Attaboy.
Now she's moving.
Hercules.
Got it.
Nicely done, champ.
Ta-da!
All right, now put it over your shoulder like a bazooka.
Yep. That's exactly what I was going for. Oh, yeah.
All right, now make up a bad enemy. The Zoltors are coming in hot. You have to protect your home planet of 11XC43.
I think they totally missed their mark on this.
Oh no!
Way better as a bazooka.
That is pretty sweet. All right, pretty good.
There we go. All right, so this is the torque tube. It's not an intergalactic defense weapon. It transmits power instead of having a drive shaft. Transmits power, and what's really nice about it, the idea is that the front of the transmission is or the rear end really is bolted to the engine, so there's no slop. There's no drivetrain slack that you got to like wind up and unwind every time. It's all one big rigid piece, which is awesome. Very race car stuff. Stone's going to yank this thing apart, and we're going to see about replacing the 130,000 mile bearings and weird Guibo things and stuff like that. So start tearing it apart.
It's a whole new morning here at the Stay Tuned shop. Stone has already been in, got the rear subframe with the transmission and transaxle whole setup scrubbed down, power washed out, same with the front subframe. So it's looking very, very nice. We did dig in and tear apart the torque tube, and as you can see, it's absolutely mangled. So this thing transmits power, but it's isolated on what they call like this big rubber isolator on both ends. Just for like shock value, it doesn't shock the drivetrain as much, makes it a little bit smoother to drive. But if you are getting wild in the streets, and I'm sure this guy was with the Turbo 5.3, it just annihilates this thing. That, between mileage, regular use, and just probably full-on sideshow behavior, this thing is straight trashed. So I'm excited. We got a rebuild kit for it. It's very straightforward. If you ever have the torque tube out of your Corvette, it's worth at least giving this thing a disassembly and looking at it, if not replacing these pieces. Cool. All right, so now we've got the chassis here of the car, and we are going to get ready to start installing all these fun parts. We're going to do a carbureted fuel, low pressure setup that we've got figured out. We're going to ditch this ABS because this thing's going to be like kind of more of a stripped down, fun, track and street car. And we're just about ready to start tearing out just all this extra junk.
So we have this little Radsport piece here. If you really look at it, you can tell she's cracked, she's bent, she's abused. So we're trying to straighten her back out, weld her up, make her ready for mission again. Mission impossible.
Yeah.
Give her a whack. All right.
Our mission is to stay straight. Hit it.
Oh, missed it.
Try to hit it this time.
Got it. Beautiful. Like brand new. No one will even know.
I want to run a carbureted LS1 in my Corvette. It's just a terrible, hilarious idea. I'm excited about it, but here's the deal. carburetors absolutely work. We slapped on an out-of-the-box untuned Holley 750 double pumper onto our very well-used LS1 that had a set of Summit Cathedral Port heads put on there, and it made 490 horsepower. I just figured the whole engine bay, all the wiring is hacked up. We can slap that thing in, wire it up in a heartbeat, it'll be no problem. But the one issue we have to deal with is fuel pressure. Corvettes are obviously set up for proper fuel injection, and this is something that gets used a ton, or used to, on LS1 swaps. You know, if you're putting an LS in any car, it's really easy to run. This is a regulator slash filter. Basically gives you deadheaded, regulated, you know, 55, 58 PSI fuel to your fuel injected motor. It's very easy. And then there is a return right back to the tank. So we're thinking we're gonna use this ultra slick Aeromotive dual stage unit that will dumb down that fuel injected pressure and has an inlet and an outlet. You can set the pressure of each one of these so we can just have the normal 6-7 PSI run we're gonna need for the carburetor. And we're not gonna have to hack anything up because down the road we put fuel injection on this thing. It's gonna be very much something we can go back to. So I think Barb's got the idea that it's gonna fit it in here, work it all out with a bunch of factory style fittings, and get this thing ready for a carburetor. Is this the world's, are there other carbureted Corvettes? Are there other carbureted C5s you know of?
I looked it up.
Did you look?
Morning.
Nothing? Are we the only ones? We'll find out. We will find out. All right, so Corvettes handle really well from the factory. They have some weak spots, one of them being one of the steering rack mounts. This is on the passenger side. It's got a rubber mount down here and apparently can break right off of the steering rack itself. Part Shop Max makes this much better billet mount. So there'll be no more rubber slop at the bottom, but it's also gonna really keep a hold of the steering rack and not let anything break or come loose. If you're drifting or even you're just road racing, really putting a ton of pressure on this thing, it's easy to break. So we're gonna upgrade that first. I've gotta pull the whole rack out, cut this old mount off, slide that thing in place, and then we'll bolt it back in. So again, this guy told us he had kind of put this thing back together. We might want to check some things over. It's got the wrong bolt in the steering rack here. This one's not tight. Neither of the tie rods were tight. Half this car is falling apart. So I'm kind of glad we're taking it all the way down to the subframes. And we will know that we've had a wrench on basically every nut and bolt that steers or drives the car. And then I'll feel okay about it. Just got to build the whole thing from scratch.
This is about an average 25-year maintenance.
Yeah, this is the old 25-year maintenance. Take it all apart, put it back together again. You can see here, mount's already shot. Probably break off here at some point.
Good.
All right, so one side is welded, one side is not. I'm gonna chop this off, break it off, and then I've got to flatten this weld down smooth, and we should be good. So lots of cutting and grinding. We'll be ready to rock. Just trying to find that little edge of the actual metal and not get through that tube. It's pretty thin. Here it is.
Bam!
Nice! All right, I'm gonna grind that down, make it look good, paint it up because apparently corrosion gets in there, and put that clamp on. I don't think that went too badly. All right, there it is. Mount knocked off, ready for paint. Okay. Time to install this Power by Max billet mount. Looks to fit pretty good. Start with that guy. There it goes. Perfect. A couple of bolts in here, tighten it up, ready to slam this thing back in the car, which looks awesome. It's all cleaned up, painted. I did see a bunch of fluid come out of here when I pulled the boot off to take the tie rod bellows off. And I'm just gonna ignore it because we don't have time or parts for that. So I'll figure out down the road. Best thing to do is just go, that'll be fine.
We changed our mind a little bit here because we can. This did not fit super well into the car. It was gonna be really tight, and I didn't really like it, and Tony didn't really like it, and neither of us really liked it. So
A couple of not
we're
liking it
slapping
guys.
a couple of not liking it guys.
Yep.
So we brought the return line up front all the way, mounted the regulator up here, which is nice and out of the way, and it's just gonna be a lot cleaner and not take up space. Should be good to go. So I'm just putting some gauges in here now, making the last line, and then we should be good to go. When the carburetor is in place, then we can make the feed line for the carburetor, put a filter in line, and dial it on. But we're almost there.
Yeah, it looks clean to me.
Yeah.
That'll do.
Clean from your house,
Yeah, this will be at my house.
but like
lot,
every
I
day,
think.
like all the times.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Good enough for the tracks we date. I want this car to be good at everything. That's what Corvettes do. They are good at absolutely everything. So I'm going to put myself in here one of these party handles. This is a hydraulic handbrake for the rear, doing a very simple setup. This is also by Part Shop Max. It's got their name right on top. I had them send me over the anodized blue handle just so we could be stunting in this thing properly. But this runs basically through your foot brake, the rear brake lines, and uses your stock calipers. It's not very involved. It's a pretty affordable piece. But what's really nice is the whole thing is on a plate that's made just for the C5. Bolts in, sticks right out of the ashtray hole. Remove the ashtray. Shouldn't be smoking anyway. Bolt this thing down. We'll be smoking tires, not cigarettes. Let's see how haphazardly everything is installed here. Bunch of random nonsense. There we go. Get out of the way. This is great stuff here. Very nice. Just gonna do that. Get rid of it. Pretty much all. So he's got a boost gauge we're not going to need. An air-fuel ratio gauge we'll maybe use one day. It's an AEM. It's a solid piece. Running on this 9-foot long harness. And get this sucker out of our way. So if you pull this wire up and out of the way to the right, then I think we can just, yeah, sit it down where it's supposed to go. Looks good. Awesome. So the 3 shifter bolts, when we put the shifter back in, and we'll have to trim it up a little bit, will be all good. So we won't get crazy with that, but that looks good. All right, awesome. All right, we're in there. I'm sitting too far back to really reach the pedals, but that's good stuff. Shifter, handbrake. Awesome. And this will be nice too, because like if we roll it up at a, at a drag strip or something, I can put just a little tension on it in first gear, and then dump the clutch and let it out, and then shift my way. That way I won't roll through the beams or anything, which I did in the Porsche when I was racing Zach. It was embarrassing. All right, now we have to feed the lines forward. They're going to come out of the master cylinder into a union fitting. Line will come into here, straight back out, and then tee into the rear brake lines. Use the rear brake lines for the entire, all of the stock stuff that comes from that tee all the way back. So that's all stock. Pretty good stuff. So like I said, both of these lines have to go up to the front of the car where they're going to meet the stock brake lines and they're going to meet the master cylinder. And they've got fittings all dialed in for you here. Bent just right. And when you're not goofing around with the handbrake, it's just going to work like regular stock brakes, which is awesome. Cool. Stone is feeding these lines through the firewall. I hit up my buddy Matt Field, Corvette drift extraordinaire god, and he was like, if you knock out the grommet for the hood cables, you can sneak these right in there. But since luckily the guy already hammered an 1.5 inch hole, with a hole saw in there to put, you know, who knows what through this thing. Oh, we just put it through there. Perfect. It's great, you know, he was looking out for us. He's probably trying to get neon tubes in the fender wells or something. Anyway, these are gonna come up here. I believe you want to throw like a zip tie on them here. I think we'll be all right. There, all right. Success, a little persuasion. That one line's done. These will go to the T. I'm just gonna start kind of mangling and tangling everything up, try to organize it, see how it goes. All right, we're gonna wrap it up there. I think I've got the rears done. This is out of the master, into the handbrake, out of the handbrake, into the rear brakes. That's all sorted. This is out of the master. This will tee into the fronts. I'm gonna remake those lines in the morning. They're too long and they're just short runs. So I'm gonna get some more usable line and just make them from scratch and have them look pretty nice. This isn't the end of the world, but I'd like this one to look a little bit cleaner. So all good, we're gonna wrap it there and live to fight another day. All right, it's a whole new morning here. Barb has taken over the brake line project. I finished up the rears. He's gonna make new fronts that should fit a little bit better, because working with those T's, I think if we just make the fronts, it'll work out a little bit easier. I am going to start rebuilding this torque tube after I read the directions.
That don't exist.
Imaginary. Go for it.
Sweet, all right, so it's time to rebuild this torque tube. As you can see, these big rubber isolators that transfer all the power are absolutely annihilated front. Same with the rear, they're about ready to give up the ghost. So we got out to, I think it's called Texas Drivetrain Products, and purchased for the princely sum of like 600 bucks, a new input shaft, full on repair kit. And then I talked to my buddy Kurt over at Phoenix Racing, local Corvette specialty road race shop, who they do 1 million of these. And he said, get at least one aluminum billet coupler. So I'm gonna replace the rear with that just to toughen it up a little bit. We'll keep the rubber in the front and just have a little bit upgraded unit. But obviously this thing was ready to just explode. And when they do explode, he told me they blow right through the torque tube and it's a complete disaster. So he's fixing 2 or 3 of those right now. He said it's a train wreck, and we're gonna try to avoid that happening.
So a lot of these brake lines in this car, they just don't really super fit up well to this ABS delete setup that we have. This one being one of the included lines that does not fit well. So I'm just making up a new set here out of some copper nickel tubing that we have with some new fittings and stuff, kind of just to make it go together a little bit nicer. So I'm going to do this one here, which goes to the driver's side front wheel, and then I'm going to do the crossover line, which goes from here to the passenger side front wheel, and then I think the brakes will be wrapped up. You guys finished the rest of them last night, so we should be in good shape.
All right, I watched a quick YouTube video, as you do, on how to replace and rebuild a torque tube. I'm gonna put this sucker in this sweet new vise we got from our boys over at Eastwood Co. Nice Pennsylvania company. Just so I can have enough torque to disassemble all this stuff. We have a new input shaft. I'm gonna try to not wreck this one, but we're all dialed in here if I do. So it's mostly several different bearings need to be pressed on and pressed off, or pressed off and pressed on, whatever, and replace these 2 isolators. But we'll get into it. Apparently there's a torch needed, so we get to play with fire. Some blue Loctite in here. We're gonna try to warm this bolt up enough to get that Loctite nice and fluid.
Breathe that in.
Yeah, do not breathe it. It is disgusting. That smells like old horsehair on a dirty barbecue. Worked though. Obviously this is a finely balanced piece, so I'm gonna mark it before I take it all the way apart, put it back together the same way it came out, just in case. So it all goes back together the same way. And I did measure the overall length. That was a tip I saw, in case there's some kind of different options and thicknesses of these isolators. So I got to take off these bolts, and then we'll get back into it, start pressing stuff apart. This is gonna take it's gonna take a minute.
Here we go.
Here we go! All right, we have our drive shaft all blown apart. Like I said, we're new input shaft here with a brand new rubber coupler and studs instead of bolts. So a little bit of upgrades on that end. And then on this side, we will be replacing this really torn up, annihilated isolator with this one billet piece. I believe it's a Hinson piece. Next step, before we can reassemble, is to take this rear power transmitter, I don't know what you call it, press it apart, press in 2 new bearings, new circlips, and we'll be able to rock and roll with this thing. Put it back together, get ready to put this in the car. All right, we're gonna start mangling up this rear coupler, but pizza has arrived, so all work has to stop in the shop. This is from a different spot. We usually do this is Giovanni's. That's a tavern pie, but I had to order it because I saw something that I haven't seen on a menu in a million years. And if you're from South Philadelphia, you'll know this. It's called Pizzazz Pizza. We used to get it as kids when we were at my grandmom's, and somebody had to take a run out of the airport because that's where Celebri's Pizza was. And they'd made this. And bear with me, I promise it's good. Banana peppers, American cheese, and sliced tomatoes. And I was like, that can't be the same pizza. It's the same pizza. Inspired by the place in South Philly. They're making it up here. I'm going to show Barb what it's like. I think it's pretty good. If you want to support the channel, and people have asked how to support the channel, no pressure. But if you want, you can buy us a pie. There's a link right up here, or it's in the description. David Boynston and Robert Taylor provided these beauties, and we thank you for that. And we are going to dig in right now. I'm going to start with the safe pizza, but then I'm getting into that pizzazz. Good. That's good.
So what's the thoughts on this pizza, Barb?
I'm confused. It's good.
Yeah. Try to get good food in here.
So give me the history on this.
It's just one place, South Philly, called Celebri's. They're still rocking, but they invented this pizza in the 80s. It's weird.
It's real weird.
Yeah, it's pretty good though.
Yeah.
You feel the pizzazz?
I feel pretty pizzazzed up. Mm-hmm. My aunts in the 80s were real pizzazzed up.
I think all ants in the 80s.
Big hair,
Yeah.
leather jackets,
Yep.
you know, Slippery When Wet was playing every time they walked in the room. It was that or Like a Prayer or something.
There's a lot of.
They were rocking.
And don't forget to check out the new shirts for sale online. We appreciate you.
All right, so we have, after lots of watching YouTubes, figured out how to push this rear coupler apart. People at home, put on your safety glasses.
Yeah, I'm gonna go do that. I don't trust flying things. Is that just going right downtown here? That was, you could have wished that
breathed
out of
that
here.
out of there.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the circlip we did first, and now we blast this thing apart. Let's go compare it. And then
you can definitely use a bearing splitter on this one.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. So yeah, we'll knock this out. So there's snap rings on.
I'm gonna grab the other.
There's 3. We had 2 on there, so we were short 1. Probably not too bad that we were in here. This was replaced at some point and gone through long enough that it still got mangled and destroyed again. This car has high miles. I want to say it has. How many miles are on this thing?
Like, I don't know, 130, 140, 300.
150,000, 300,000 miles. I don't know. I watched like 35 videos and none of the torque tubes look like this. I think there's variations with the later C5s and C6s, but it's all the same idea. This piece and this seems to be the same, it's just in different housings. We'll get her dialed.
Bearings actually feel pretty good.
How do they taste? That's the best test.
Not the best. That was disgusting.
Make sure these are nice and tight and give it a little shove. Let's see what happens.
Got it.
Here. No marks in the front top, right?
No. Right here.
Is that you got the new big guy? All right,
big
lay
guy.
that on there.
Now we need the new big, yeah, that's
my
the
hand.
one. Okay.
All right, a little coat of grease.
Yep.
And then we'll have to really dial that in because we're going to use this one. I think we'll try to press
Yes.
it on with a piece of steel.
I agree with you.
Or
Okay. Give me the old one. Let me find something.
All right, we're going to find the proper pipe. Right about. That's it.
Sweet.
All right, new circlip, and then other guy and other circlip. Push it back in, and we're done.
Sweet. Okay. All right. Here. You're down, baby.
That's it.
That's precision fit right there. Okay, now you got to put a snap ring on this end
I learned that.
because the guy that, you know, or gal, whoever,
Could be.
did it the last
You never
time.
know.
Did not do a good job by not doing
Are
that.
these all exactly the same? What are we thinking?
Got that on the back.
I believe
Yeah. Sweet.
so. All right, we're ready to reinstall. You got the O-rings in here?
Nope, not yet.
All right, load those suckers in.
I cleaned this whole thing out of here, cleaned all the cracks, brake clean.
I feel like this is what Iron Man has in his chest.
I mean, it might be.
It's like a little light in there. Just kidding. I don't watch comic book movies.
Nerd. All right. Load her on in. What did I say? Look at that.
So there we are. We're all dialed in. This coupler has new bearings, new circlips, new O-rings. It's ready to go. So we're going to run our billet guy in the back here. That just couples with that center. So
Billet guy. Let me get some Loctite.
get a whole bunch of Loctite. All right, reassembly. Here we go. Fresh blues on there. Good fit.
All right.
Here it is, last piece. Nice.
Oh yeah.
All right, bolt her in.
Give me some bolts. I need the Loctite. Okay.
That's how.
Okay.
Earned that one. All right, there she is, dialed in.
Put it in the tube.
Put it in the tubes.
Hey.
All right, a little grease on this thing. Let's slam it home.
Where's that? Does that stay in the center?
What? Yeah.
That seal? Hey. Sweet. All right.
That's bolted in.
Bolt it in, baby. Need those bolts.
All right, torque tube's all done. Barb and I will slam it on the transaxle. Stone, get the motor lifted up in the air, get ready to put the clutch and flywheel on it, and then we'll get it into the subframe, and then we're gonna make one big Lego block of engine, transmission, subframes, everything, and slam it up home. Can't wait. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Try it?
Yep. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh boy. You want to get that card out of there? Yep.
Hell yeah.
Gonna scoot that one.
All right, flying Corvettes. Look at that sucker.
That's 2/3 of a Corvette.
Sure is, bud.
Hell yeah.
Getting somewhere. I can't wait to put this thing in the car. I'm getting pretty excited about this whole project. It's weird, but I know it's just like a 99 beater Corvette, but you know, there's something that's like real pure about this car that I like
And
a lot.
not so pure over there.
Just saying, like this thing was made to go fast. I appreciate that. Where a lot of times we're taking cars that weren't meant to go so fast and like reconfiguring them. This is like, this is what it wants to do. I can feel it. This
It's destiny.
thing's a party machine. Cool. All right, so I've been talking about this car like we're having some soulful connection, and I super care about it. But the reality of it is, once this thing's on the ground and I'm behind the wheel, I'm going to drive it like a rental car that's registered in somebody else's name. That's just going to happen. There's no way around it. So to take up that kind of abuse, we're going to put a serious clutch and flywheel setup on here, and it's one that comes in a pretty cool like secret agent briefcase for extra cool points. It's a Mantic full-on twin plate, full ceramic metallic solid hub clutch, because we're going to be doing some serious hard driving, launching it at drag strip, taking it sideways around a drift track, all those things. So it should put up with anything we can throw at it. Starting with this billet aluminum flywheel with a steel friction plate in there. In fact, you want to help me? There's quite a bit going on here.
Yep.
You're running these, I think they're 8mm bolts from the back while I lift it on. So if you want to take hold of those, Barbara Lennard dogs, I'm going to drop in these bolts. They sit in this little valley that keeps them from spinning, so you got to make sure they're in just right.
Okay.
Thread those suckers in there. All right, so if you watched the 55 video, you know my favorite analogy for a twin plate clutch is the famous Big Mac burger. And essentially the friction plates are the buns and the clutch discs are the meat. So we got our bottom bun here. Barb, hit me with some meat.
Working on it here.
No, I'm never gonna say Barb, hit me with some meat again. I hear it now.
Okay, pressure plate side, number 1. There you go. You want your clutch alignment tool or what?
Yeah, well,
I guess you don't need it yet.
can't really mess with it yet.
All right. Okay, pressure plate side, number 1. There you go. You want your clutch alignment tool or what?
Yeah, well,
I guess you don't need it yet.
can't really mess with it yet.
All right. There's
Now,
a weird bun.
these are the posts that everything rides on. And then you do have to make sure, that one?
That's a weird bun.
All right, this is the center bun. This is the most essential hunk of
It's a
bread.
bun with no top.
All right, so they have balance marks on them. PP side number 2. I usually stagger these. I don't know if it's super important, but just for my own, I put the friction, the little pucks opposite each other. Like on the front plate, they're here and here, and on this one, they're there and there. Maybe it helps with the balance, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. Good deal, again, balance mark. Okay,
And then you need
now we need to line it all up.
nuts and washies.
Still need the alignment tool.
Coming.
Oh yeah, look at this. This Maverick tool here. Nice.
So much better.
Yeah, that's legit. Cool.
Okay.
All right, there it is, dialed in, full Mantic, solid hub, full ceramic metallic twin plate, bad boy, ready for duty. All right, it's time to stick this whole big sandwich together. It's big sandwich day.
All right, so we're just checking the air gap here. We have to measure the dimension from the clutch fingers to the mating surface on the bell housing. And then we'll take the bell housing off, put it back on there, and check the dimension from there to the release bearing. And what was the spec?
So the release bearing compressed should be 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch greater than dimension A.
Okay, so we're gonna just get in here, touch these fingies. 367 minus 1 inch. So it's 267.
Cool. Good area code. I like it.
Aha.
That's us out here. Okay, leave it.
267, and that is
327.
327.
Math time.
600,000.
Right in the money maker.
It's right in the middle. It's almost like they
It's perfect.
engineered that or something.
All right, we have been jamming away all night. It is now time to connect my near 500 horsepower LS motor to the transaxle and the torque tube. Big old Lego blocks going together, and very soon we will jam it up in this Corvette and have a car again. I'm excited. I think the idea is, this is kind of a rickety old cart that's like 100 years old. We're gonna put this in place first because we have to go over the hump. And really try to aim that thing right where it is. Then we'll lower the whole thing down once it's a sandwich. All right, we're using a plumb bob here so we can align pretty much everything before it goes down. When we have to wiggle it around, it'll be much less to do. I say we ride with that.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring the motor in.
That's in the jiggle zone right there.
All right. Engine and transmission are all one with the torque tube. I'm gonna bring the car down. This is why we're very, very grateful to have a lift today. And just aim for these subframe alignment pins. Put the bolts up in this thing and start putting it up, tighten it up. All right, so the front end has 4 bolts in it. At one point we had the shifter in it and it picked up the fuel line and both the brake lines in the back and lifted them up about 6 inches and pinched them up pretty good. We had to unmangle those, take the shifter out, because it was definitely rocking a lot of the car on it. I think they're actually gonna survive. So now we are back. We've got the front 4 in and we're gonna jack the back up to meet it. Because I think we have just too much weight in the front. Nothing else seems to be touching anything. So Stone's gonna just put the jack under here and start pumping. It's lifting the car up. Like, why doesn't, there's gotta be something on, it's gotta be in the trans tunnel, man. There just has to be something in there. Yep. All right, we found some rogue exhaust hangers that we put on backwards, maybe holding the whole car up, besides the fuel lines and the brake lines. How about that? Here she goes, you good?
Very close.
Gosh, we're in.
Coming down.
That's the...
Boom. That feels like a car. Hell yeah. That's better. Nice work, bros. Way to come together. I'll take that. What's up? I thought we might do it overhead, but I guess you could tighten them up. Take 2. That way we can watch it go. Walk underneath it. Fit in pretty nice though. Once we got rid of that junk. All right, bring the Corvette down. Both subframes snapped right into place once we got rid of these exhaust hangers that were in the way and some fuel lines that were hanging it up. And we got ourselves a sweet carbureted Corvette. Carburetor's sitting up pretty high. It's gonna be pretty noticeable, I feel like. Especially when you take into account velocity stack on top. Got to do it. Loud and proud. Loud and proud. That's how we're doing this thing. Holy moly. That is ridiculous. That's something right there. That's a real statement piece. I think that's what they call that. Are you carbureted? Yes. I think this thing's got a car. Yes. You know, I think that car might run in a car. Yes, it is. It's a carburetor. All right, it's near 11 p.m. We're going to go get some shut-eye, come back, and get this thing fired up. All right, we are jamming to get this thing fired up this morning. We've got to hook up the fuel to the carburetor, a little bit of fuel pump wiring probably. Going to get the brake lines back on, run a couple of, did I say wires already? A couple of wires, turn the key, maybe exhaust, who knows, it might get crazy. And see how this thing sounds in the Corvette. I'm very excited. We're super close. And we're going to start jamming now and see what it sounds like. All right, so I was able to trigger the factory relay in a way that didn't do anything, and then we came back to investigate. Looks like there's already been some kind of weird wiring fed directly to the fuel pump with this 14 gauge wire, which is not great. Just one more fun thing to find on this basket of disasters. I mean, look, the guy was, like we said, he's a little bit probably out of his element, right? He was what, he owned an Italian market or something? I don't know exactly what he did, but I can tell you one thing, he's definitely a butcher. That's all I'm saying, right? Boop-a-doop. All right, power probe time. I'm gonna feed some fuel out of the pump. Barb has that special Aeromotive dual regulator that's gonna let us knock down, 55 PSI of fuel pressure or more and down to 7. It's got 2 stages. It's a trick piece. Cool, all right, turn the key on. That should give us MSD power and fuel pump. This is the world's quickest LS swap wiring.
Hang on.
I think. Pumping, nothing's overflowing. Really quickly, I just looked on my phone, and Stay Tuned has hit 314,159 subscribers, which is pi to the 6th place. That's some real nerd jams, but that's the deal. So it's Pi Day. We just ordered another pizza. Just want to say really quickly, appreciate absolutely everybody that's watching the channel. This has been amazing. We are having a blast here, and we are just so appreciative of everybody that's watching. So thanks so much. Let's fire this sucker off. Good carbs, good car. This is what they call good carbs, right? That's the name.
Yeah.
All those people are talking about like potatoes or whatever.
I took the return spring
They
off,
should
so
be
we got
talking about
extra
C5s.
ready.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Maybe don't look down that hole. Good. That's right.
Yep.
Ready? It's gonna go. Yeah, we're down at 6 volts. Here we are. New world record. Just kidding.
Yep.
Just a little wonky connection. Here it is. LS1 with a carburetor in a vet. Yes!
Woo!
That's better.
Gnarly.
That's been had a wonky connection there. The 2 wiring connections. I got one not so great. That's awesome. Sounds great. This thing is ripping. I can't wait. That is going to be it for this episode of Stay Tuned. It took us a ton to get this thing together, but man, it's come a very long way. We're just going to keep jamming on it. We'll be ripping this thing down the road next week. I'm so excited about this Corvette. It's going to be the best. We're going to call this thing Snow Cone. Details on that later. All right, very cool.
Hell yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys next time. Pi Day pizza
full success. Oh, that looks good. Appreciate you.